enjoy my frameworks. I'm running a weekly poker class. They have been extremely well received so far. In the classes, I go heavy into everything poker, every spot. I talk about exploitative line, how we build dynamic ranges based off of the player that we're up against, where the pool's ranges are weak, where the pool's ranges are strong. We talk about timing tells, how we use our frameworks to break down ranges in every spot, where our opponents are vulnerable, how we can manipulate their range through bet sizing and timing, player profile, pre-flop, post-flop, mental game, you name it. If you can just find one or two concepts per class, you will have a meteoric rise in your win rate and your results will certainly benefit. Every class is 1.5 hours for $75 US. All the classes have a multiple choice interactive element to them. Whether you attend the live class or you purchase the recordings, you can follow along and track your progress. When you're ready to take your game to the next level, check out the Discord, send me a message. We'd be happy to have you, and I'm sure that after the first class, you'll agree, you'll be happy that you came. Take care, guys. What is up, YouTube? Blake Smart here, back making another video. Going to continue with the live plays, and today we're going to play some 200s on stars. Let's get into it. The pool's pretty big right now. I do have some reads against some of the opponents as I just completed my 100K hand challenge in these games where I managed to win at 10.3 BB and EV for the 100K hands. Just going to be looking to play solid, strong poker, and then I will be looking to make exploitative plays when I'm permitted. Permitted being that I think that's the right thing to do. You're always permitted. Gonna check this hand back. Five of diamonds is not a great card facing large bet, but certainly not folding a pair here. I can fold a pocket pair like pocket deuces, etc., but I'm not going to be folding a hand like this. And on the river, we are likely going to be bluffing or calling. Going to be jamming my hand as a bluff. Block 5-4, block the two pair. Nice. First hand, all in. So here, basically we have a bluff catcher on the river, and for his turn overbet, he can have probably ace-8 plus. And so on the river, if he, when choosing his sizing, if he's saying that he is value betting ace-8 plus on the river, when I jam, he needs to call a portion of that range. And having the 6 there, very powerful, blocking the two pairs, blocking the sets. Having the 5 there, blocking 5-4, seems like a nice combo to choose. going to 3-bet this hand. I think that these suited aces play quite well in 3-bet pots, more so than GTO would suggest, at least the way that I realize equity with my understanding of barreling ranges. This is not exciting, but with a suited ace getting this price, we just have to call, and we have to play very cautiously post-flop, including if we hit an ace. I'm going to think for a second. I'll explain this then after. I'm just got to figure some things out first. Against jam, we're going to see a lot of clubs. And he has the clubs. Probably, I wouldn't be surprised there if his entire range is clubs. I'll discuss that hand after. Going to be check raising this one on the flop. My opponent calls, turn. I'm going to go for overbet or check. I'm saying that I have a good jack or nothing. I'm going to end up likely giving up my combo on the river against this player, as I believe what's going to happen here in reality is that the turn is going to get overfolded. So his range arriving to the river is going to be too strong. So we're going to surrender. Hopefully we don't see a check. So seeing a jam makes me very happy, because we don't have, if we see a check, that means he had a hand that I would expect him to fold on the turn, like 8s, 9s, 10s, maybe even aces, kings, queens. Even when you're an aggressive player and you're looking to bluff a lot, it's really important that you understand which spots to go after and not just be like a raging bull being aggressive randomly everywhere and just kind of running into it. So understanding why in that node, playing more passively, especially with my blockers blocking pocket 8s and pocket 9s, are going to be the best play. I'm sure that theory is going to jam that hand quite often. And then with the King Jack hand, with the King Jack hand, it's a situation where I'm 3-betting the small blind with more hands like pocket 5s, pocket 6s, 7-8 suited, 5-6 suited, and I have a bunch of my pairs. And so here I can develop a donking range if I want, and in reality, players are going to do a pretty bad job responding to it. Queen of Hearts is reasonable to barrel. I think specifically on a 6, though, with the 8 of diamonds, I will check this one. Not a good size by my opponent, with his range, whatever he has. Here, against a recreational player, I'm going to go for a check, as I think they're going to stab too much with their Jack-X, their 9X, and I can go for a check raise and play a 2-street game. So he bets. We are going to get the check raise in, which he's not going to fold any of the straight draws. He calls. And on this turn, I'm just going to, don't want to jam. We're going to let him make a mistake with a hand like Queen 10. And we're just going to bet. I think we'll just bet this. Jacks are not going to be a good calling hand on the river to any big size, double blocking the bluffing range. Just going to fold. Very large 4-bet by my opponent. King Jack suited, I don't think should call. We're going to be dominated by some of his bluffs like Ace Jack suited, King Queen suited, obviously Ace King. It's going to be an Ace King offsuit quite often. Nothing we can do. Here on the turn with the aces, I wanted to pick a sizing to give him options to make more mistakes. Basically, by me betting 20, I allow him to make more mistakes calling off with a 9 or calling another bet with Queen 10, 10-8, 7-8, whereas if I just jam, he is never going to call those hands. I'm going to flat here with the recreational in the big blind. Don't really mind if I get induced like back raise or something with this type of hand. I can back call. This hand never going to bet the flop. Still not going to bluff the turn with this hand. I double block the folding range. I would rather bluff if I had like King 10, Queen 10, Jack 10, etc. Very obvious call spot. Versus check, I'm actually going to make... What do I want to do versus check? I'm going to try to induce this player a second time with what I think his actual range is going to be. And on the river, this hand I'm not going to barrel. I block the bluffs, and I can show down still. I still have the best hand against a bunch of hands. Here on the river, after going small, I think in this line he'll get two. We'll just pick a normal size. He's going to have 7-8 to this line. Pure. Flopping a set against a recreational player is good. On this board, I think his range is going to be pretty inelastic, where he's going to call anything that he calls a third with, he's going to call larger. So we are going to size up on the flop. Turn, we're going to keep betting. Don't know exactly how tight or loose this player is. River, we're going to go for the jam. He's going to make ace-10, and he could have ace-queen as well, queen-10. You can have a different sizing scheme kind of depending on your understanding of the recreational's range and how he's playing, but being readless against him, I should have even looked at my notes. Really important when you have nutted hands against recreationals and against regulars that you are able to find lines that allow you to get your stack in, particularly when you have the nuts or an extremely strong hand. So by me not sizing up on either the flop, turn, and river there and having overbets at some point, I wouldn't have a chance to get all in. So very important that you have your ranges structured that enable you to do so. Going to make a big difference on your win rate. King 8, I will defend. Okay, small sizing, we will call. Against overbet, we will call. We're not even bluff catching yet. Here, I think that there's some raising kind of happening with these types of hands, and against how I perceive players to be playing ranges, I think that it's going to be a nice raise. Very interesting river. Can I find some leads? Who has more 9x? We both have a bunch of 9x. Not going to play it this time, but you could. I'm pretty sure you could develop a leading range. It's fine. Going to fold the 4s to 13. And I'm going to check this one back. And I am just going to fold with the 10 of hearts. I think that that's a bad card, which interacts with his bluffing range of Jack 10 and 10-7. With the 10 of diamonds, I'll stab against a recreational player. Ace is the worst card in the deck for me to continue, as I'm mainly targeting a bunch of his ace highs, so just going to give up. Had to take a quick call, but we're back. It's been not long, it was like a few minutes. I reset the stacks though. Here, I open any 2 against a recreational blind on blind. Just think that they're gonna fold too much pre-flop, not 3-bet enough, and then most importantly, I'm gonna be able to outmaneuver them post-flop. Going to play different strategies against different players on different boards. Going to check my hand this time. Going to check the turn. And going to raise the river. I'm actually going to raise we ever play a 6 like this? Never as King Jack. We'll raise. If I'm raising, it's to raise call. So he's going to have 6x, pocket 3s, but I expect them to take a different line. So it allows me to get the value raise in there when I think that the majority of his range is worse King X to that line in that sizing. Here, jam, 30 bigs. Gonna check back this flop with this hand this time. Pretty good situation. Oh, it's become worse, a lot worse. Terrible. All right. My opponent likely had, he obviously had a king. Wow, he didn't even have a king. Jack X. Really dislike how he played his hand. If he's going to check the turn, I'm actually going to check raise this one. If he's going to check the turn, then I don't think that he should be leading large on the river, as I have a ton of king X in this line. Really nice combo to check raise. 10 high, backdoor everything. Queen Jack suited, very easy call. Happy to see half pot. Gonna call. I might jam my hand on the turn, it depends. Because he's in the big blind, and he's gonna have more hands like 8-9, ace-5, etc. Was going to check back this turn if he had checked. A really bad bluff on my opponent. We'll talk about why. Here, knowing nothing about my opponent, I'll just go for pot. Yeah, so this is a really bad bluff by my opponent. This is like one of the worst combos that he could possibly have to take this line. So firstly, his bet on the flop with his hand is for half pot is not good, as he's not getting called by much worse, and he's folding no better hands. So if he's betting this hand, it's going to leave his checking range very undefended. Turn, his combo is one of the worst again to barrel, as he is heavily blocking my folding range of, I have all of the ace X backdoor spades. So I have ace queen, ace jack, ace 10, ace 9, ace 8, ace 5 of spades. I have all of those hands that I'm going to be folding turn with, other than ace 5 of spades. And by him holding the ace, I can never have those hands, so it strengthens my range. Then his second side card is also bad with the 4, as some of my folds are going to be hands like ace 4 clubs, ace 4 hearts. I could fold maybe 4-5, but not on the turn. But yeah, just a really, really poor combo selection by my opponent. Here with the nut low, I actually am going to bet this one. This hand, it doesn't have equity, but it's not low, and I can bluff on a bunch of situations. This is definitely going to be fine. This is... I will call king queen. On the river, I'm polarized, saying I have a 7 or an 8, so I choose a 2x pot sizing. You want to be careful about bluffing hands like this in this type of situation because you're going to always prioritize your natural bluffs. So for example, I'm going to have here to bluff Jack 9, Jack 10, 9, 10, 6x, 5x, flush draws, etc. But depending on how your opponents are constructing their ranges, you can bluff wider or tighter. And when considering bluffing wider, taking a hand like this that has 0 EV in the check down line and using it is going to be a great candidate. And then, so I chose just a normal size on the turn where I'm saying I'm value betting like pocket 5s plus. And then on the river, I have to polarize to 7x plus. I'm actually going to jam my hand against this guy, and I don't usually do this, but this guy is playing a lot of shoves pre-flop, so he's going to have a lot less ace-king. Does that make me want to call him? I gotta think about this. Doesn't have ace-king as much. Yeah, I still think I gotta take this. This isn't fantastic. Is calling better? No, I think that we just need to rip this. Here, with a potential weaker player behind, don't mind calling with a hand like this that plays extremely well post-flop. I'm going to check back this time. You don't need to bet all your queen X for sure. Really good card from my range. Not a card he should be betting very often. If he does bet, I'm going to fold, as I'm going to have pocket 6s, pocket 8s, pocket 3s, 5, 6 suited. Lost the minimum. Happy with that. Big part of winning poker in 2023, especially online, is just not making huge punts. Like, if you can just play solid, good, aggressive poker, attacking players where they're weak, understanding where they're strong, and overfolding, and then not just donate your stack every so often, which basically everybody does at some frequency, the less often you can just avoid donating your stack, the higher your win rate's going to be, and it's going to make a huge difference here. One of my weaker kings, I'm going to check it on the turn. He should be playing overbet or check, or at least pot or check. This sizing is not a good sizing. I would raise her quite wide. King 8 I don't think is strong enough. Is it? He never has King 10 actually, a 2 pair. Take that back. We are gonna go for the raise. My opponent calls. Go 10%. Just trying to do some when he's ready to sow face up. This hand is going to be a bet. Not betting this board often, but this is going to be an excellent hand to bet. Turn. Going to check my hand. And on the river, he's going to be bluffing with some 3x. I think I just have to call with this hand. He's going to be bluffing hands like King 3, Jack 3, higher spades, etc. For this sizing, I don't need to be good that often. Perfect. Gonna start off with flop check. This has been a fun session. I feel like I've won every hand I've played. I guess the queen's hand. Here on the turn, I'm going to continue to check. My hand is too weak to value bet, too strong to bluff. And on the river, we definitely have a check. This hand, I think, is just pushing too much equity and wants enough equity denial to not let the recreational in. It's nice when you get some of these sessions where like all your plays work out, because I promise you, even for me, there are times where I have sessions where nothing works out. Here I'm going to actually call this if the recreational calls. Hands like this play a lot better than you might think. I'd rather call a hand like this than a hand like Queen 8 offsuit, because this hand, when it makes its trips and when it makes it straight, it's not dominated. Don't know why, but I felt like I was going to flop something big just for me saying that. Nothing to do. All right, we'll play one more interesting pot and then I'll wrap it up. Here you can do a bunch of things. I have overbet, small, you name it. With this hand, I'm going to check. I play a bunch of different strategies just depending on who I'm playing against. We're going to bluff on the turn. Here against potential recreational. Three bet. Gonna bet the flop. This hand is gonna make a certainly 2-barrel, likely 3-barrel depending on the run out, blocking his stronger kings. It's important to understand, though, if you're against a recreational player who's folding no king x to a triple barrel, then there are going to be situations where his range is just going to be 2 king x heavy by the river, and you just need to check fold because your fold equity is just so low. I don't consider that hand particularly interesting, so we'll keep playing. Here I'm going to open with the recreational in the pot. It's almost similar to just me playing heads up, and heads up king 5 is a slam dunk open, so it's fine. If you're playing against a aggressive recreational who's 3-betting you a bunch, then folding hands like that makes sense. I would 3-bet the queen 9 suited sometimes. So here, with this formation, I prefer 3-betting in this earlier position because I don't want to give one of the regs behind me a profitable squeeze. I'm going to play these 2 pots and we'll wrap it up. This is going to be certainly a great bluff, unblocking all of his 6s through 10s region. Considering 3-betting the flop with this combo, it can be okay, depending on your understanding of your opponent's range. So here, nice combo to bluff against a recreational player. If he's checking a bunch of pocket 6s through pocket jacks, you completely unblock that, and then you actually have equity against his queen x region. That does it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed and you guys learned something. Have a great day.